Tun's heart raced as he stood at the doorstep of Obina's workshop. The air felt thick with tension, the night unusually still. He had followed the trail of his wife's betrayal, piecing together the clues that led him to this moment. As he knocked on the door, his mind raced with thoughts of revenge, anger, and the need for answers. He had to confront the tailor, to demand an explanation for what had been happening under his roof. Obina opened the door slowly, his ever-present calmness cloaking him like a second skin. The moment their eyes met, Tun felt an unsettling chill run down his spine. There was something unnerving about the man before him, something that seemed far beyond human. Tun cleared his throat, trying to steady himself. "I know what you've been doing with my wife," Tun said, his voice cold, "and I demand an explanation." Obina's lips curled into a faint smile. He stepped aside, gesturing for Tun to enter. "Come in, Tun," Obina said smoothly. "Let us talk." Inside, the atmosphere was heavy with the weight of unspoken words. Obina didn't seem alarmed by the confrontation. Instead, he welcomed it. As Tun entered, he could feel the oppressive energy in the room. It was as if Obina had been expecting this moment for a long time. What Tun didn't realize was that the tailor was playing a much deeper game, one that would soon consume him. 2. Unknown to Obina, his enemies had set a trap for him. As he walked home late one evening after closing his shop, he sensed something was off. The street was too quiet, and a strange tension lingered in the air. Just as he turned a corner, 3 masked men lunged at him from the shadows, brandishing weapons. "You thought you could mess with people's wives and go free?" one of them snarled, swinging a baton at Obina's head. But Obina was ready. With lightning-fast reflexes, he ducked, sidestepped, and landed a heavy punch on the attacker's ribs. The man stumbled back, gasping for breath. The second hoodlum lunged with a knife, but Obina grabbed his wrist, twisted it forcefully, and sent the weapon clattering to the ground. The third man, realizing the fight was not in their favor, hesitated. But Obina did not. With a swift kick, he sent him sprawling onto the pavement. The defeated men groaned in pain as Obina stood over them, his eyes dark with fury. "Tell whoever sent you," he said in a chilling tone, "that I am not someone they can take down so easily." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving them in the dirt. But he knew this was just the beginning. Someone was out to get him, and he had to be prepared. As Tun sat, his eyes burning with fury, Obina's demeanor remained unsettlingly composed. The tailor began to speak, his voice low and hypnotic, as though luring Tun deeper into a web of lies. "You think you know what's happening between us, but you only know the surface, Tun. There are things that even you cannot understand." Tun's grip on his chair tightened as he listened, his suspicion growing. Obina continued, his words coming slow and deliberate. "Your wife, Nana, is not the first. And I will tell you something more. This curse of mine, the one that keeps me alive, has bound me to this town for centuries. I have lived through the ages, and my desire has always been the same, to weave my magic into hearts of those who cross my path." Tun's blood ran cold as he realized the depth of what he was hearing. He had suspected that there was something unnatural about Obina, but to hear him speak so openly about it was another matter entirely. "Curse," Tun whispered, his voice cracking. "What are you talking about?" Obina smiled, his eyes gleaming with an eerie light. "I am not like other men. I do not age. I do not die. I live on, forever bound to the mistakes of my past." He leaned in closer, his breath cold against Tun's ear. "And the women I have loved, Nana, Amina, even little Ijeoma, they are all part of my endless cycle. They are my undoing, just as I am theirs." Tun stood, trembling, but his rage now mixed with fear. The pieces of the puzzle were coming together, and he knew he was standing on the precipice of something far more dangerous than he had imagined. Amina's thoughts were clouded by the constant presence of Obina in her life. She had tried to resist him, to hold on to her values, but the pull of his charm was too strong. The more she saw of him, the more she felt consumed by an intense need to be near him, to feel his touch. She was no longer the innocent housemaid she once was. The power of Obina's immortal allure had transformed her into something else, something darker. One evening, after a particularly long day of work, Amina found herself alone with Obinna in the dimly lit backroom of a shop. The atmosphere was thick with desire and uncertainty, and as Obinna approached her, his eyes dark and intense, she knew she couldn't escape. His presence was overwhelming, and the moment he touched her arm, all of her resistance crumbled. "Amina," Obinna whispered, his voice a seductive murmur, "you've been so loyal to your mistress, but I can give you something she cannot. I can give you eternity, a love that will never fade." Amina, trembling, looked into his eyes and saw only the reflection of her deepest desires. Without a word, she gave in. The kiss they shared was unlike anything she had ever known, filled with passion and danger, pulling her deeper into the dark world of Obinna's immortal curse. The child's warnings. Ijeoma had always been a perceptive child, and now, more than ever, she could sense the change in her mother. Amina's usual warmth had been replaced with a cold distance, and Nana seemed equally distracted, consumed by thoughts she couldn't share with her daughter. But it was Obinna who intrigued Ijeoma the most. There was something deeply unsettling about him, something that made her skin crawl. One afternoon, while Ijeoma played in the garden, she noticed Obinna walking past the house. His gaze met hers, and for a split second, the world seemed to stand still. There was an unsettling familiarity in his eyes, as though he had seen her before, perhaps in a different lifetime. Ijeoma couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on it. Her curiosity grew, and with it, a growing dread that her family was tangled in a dangerous game they couldn't escape. That night, as she lay in bed, Ijeoma overheard her mother's soft sobs through the thin walls. She couldn't help but wonder, was Obinna to blame for the sudden change in her family? What was it about him that made her mother and Nana act so differently? If you found value in this video, don't forget to smash the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and give this video a like. Also, share with others to support my work and encourage me to create more educative and entertaining content. Head to the comment section and share your thoughts. Thank you, and see you in the next episode.